Hello and welcome to Ward Talk, CTN's look at the political scene in Ann Arbor. I'm your host, Bonnie Gabowitz. We'll be discussing issues and solutions with the City Council members from our 5 wards each month. Joining us this month is Jon Mallek from Ward 2. Welcome, Jon. This is the first time we're meeting, so a hearty welcome to you.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And you represent Ward 2.
That's correct, Ward 2.
Right. So, but you're a recent member of the council, so tell us a little bit about you and what interested you in being on the council and what your professional background is.
Sure, yeah, I would love to. So, like you said, a recent addition to council. I got elected in November 2024 and took office shortly thereafter. So I think it's been maybe 6 or 7 months total so far. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I was a reluctant to run for city council in the first place. I'm no stranger to public service. For the better part of 10 or 15 years, my career has been pretty much centered on public service, various.
And how long have you lived in Ann Arbor?
Good question, yeah. So I moved sometime during the pandemic. It was a little fluid. I was remote working for my job out of Washington, D.C., and so there wasn't like a definitive date, I guess, but I just say the pandemic. But yeah, I mean, my husband is an elected official, my parents are elected officials, so I'm no stranger to kind of the elected side of things. And I learned that there would be an opening on council, and like I said, originally I was pretty reluctant, but with some encouragement from now former Councilmember Lynn Song, whose seat I replaced, and former Councilmember Kathy Griswold, both of them I would definitely consider kind of my political mentors. Mm-hmm. They were really encouraging, and based on their encouragement, I started to meet with some of the current council members and former council members. And you know, I was nervous that because I hadn't lived here, my whole life, for instance, like a lot of council members or decades, that I might not be a great candidate. And
but on the other hand, you're bringing a fresh perspective.
Yes.
Because you haven't been involved in all of these decision makings and problems. So yep. You're actually coming with a fresh eye.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to frame it. And I have found that to be true in a lot of cases. And you know, a lot of former council members, they shared the same thing. They said, you know, even if I have lived here my whole life, running for council is a scary thing. And, you know, I said I felt underqualified, and they said that's not a problem. You know, they felt the same way when they ran too. And, you know, these are folks that I would consider very qualified to be on council. So for them to say they felt the same way in the beginning, it definitely alleviated some of my fears. So. But here I am, and so far it's been really great. So
thank you for your courage.
yeah, of course, thank you. And it's been a learning experience. But and then you also asked, you know, what I do kind of for my professional career on the side. It's something actually that a lot of folks in Ann Arbor I think forget, is that city council is part-time. So most council members do work a full-time job on the side. In my case, I work for the Michigan Department of Agriculture, so I work for the state. And with that, I'm the policy director for the department. So work on a whole range of issues affecting the state's farmers, our food supply, and kind of everything in between. So.
Okay, well, this is, you bring a different new energy, so that's great.
Yeah.
So I know we have a lot to talk about,
yes.
But so we'll just cover what we can.
Sounds good.
And a lot of these topics are ongoing, but there have been some changes. Let's just start with the mall,
okay.
Because we've had the construction is really moving along where the Sears building was, and I believe it's a mixed use, which means they're going to have housing plus a small grocery store, I understand. And they're looking to also add new retailers, mm-hmm. So to really invigorate the shopping experience. Mm-hmm. I believe they're also looking at adding a bus line or increasing the availability of having that public transportation. Mm-hmm. From my information, they're planning 370 units, yes. Housing units. Mm-hmm. Will that be mixed use? Will that be marketplace rates and special lower rates, or do you know that?
I don't know the specifics on that, but I know mixed use for sure,
Yeah.
but mixed, or what type of housing, that I'm not sure at the
Right,
moment.
okay. Well, that's ongoing, but there is progress.
There is, yes. If you've been down there, you can see the construction starting to take place.
And just north of the mall on this 2900 South State Street in Eisenhower, that's also a project. And from what I see lately is from the original plans, they've added one more story and 16 more apartments. So that's still really ongoing and being developed. So there's nothing really to see yet, right?
Not yet, is
Yeah.
my understanding, but soon some of those projects can really pop up quickly.
Yeah, okay. And they're looking, that was rezoned as TC1, is
That's
that correct?
Yep.
So that it would be a mixed use.
Mm-hmm.
And also they're looking at increasing the availability of public transportation, I believe, right?
Yep. So that's one of the tenets of those TC1 districts is generally denser housing, but also housing that really connects to those transit corridors, allowing, if folks want to live there without a car, for instance, it's probably generally easier in a TC1 district than elsewhere in the city.
Yeah, okay. I know that's a very busy intersection.
It is, yes. Yep.
Okay, we have something really important to talk about, and that's the library. We have a vote coming up in August. I think it's August 5th, I'm not sure.
I believe that's correct.
But this is a vote. There are two things going on with the public library. First of all, there was a vote a few years ago to create a different rating. And it was called Central Park designation. And now one of the options to vote is to undo that designation and create something more mixed with retail. And that's a big topic. So is there information on the website that people could look at? Or is that just something to watch for in the future?
A little bit of both. That's a great question. So you're right, there's two propositions on the ballot. One is to repeal the language from 2018. And the second proposition is to say if the other part passes, if we do repeal that part, then the second part is that the city would only be allowed to give that land of the library commons to the Ann Arbor District Library. What isn't fleshed out totally yet is what the deal between then the city and the Ann Arbor District Library would look like. The extent of what is available is a kind of general memorandum of understanding between the city and the library saying their vision for that space. That's on the website, and I actually would encourage folks to look at that because, like I said, there's not like a blueprint or an actual site plan yet. That would come after the vote if it passes, but at the moment there's just some like general ideas of what we're hoping to see come to fruition if both A and B pass in August.
And I understand they're going to create 4 early voting centers so that people can vote before the actual final date of voting.
Yeah.
So,
So I know, for instance, in the past, off-year elections or August elections in general, kind of the general primary date, have been low attendance elections, but given that we've had some law changes in the last few years in the state that do allow early voting, no excuse absentee voting, I'm looking forward to there being a pretty good turnout on this election. So I think the barriers to voting have really fallen in Michigan, and that's something I think a lot of Michiganders can be proud of.
yeah. And with this consideration of changing, how that property can be used, they're looking at having the library also have some retail on the first floor, with the second floor being available to the city, I believe, so that it would actually bring more people to that building other than readers.
Right, yep, exactly. So it'd bring more people to the library space than just kind of typical library users. And then with the housing that's proposed above it, there would be a lot of residents that are right there, you know. In my mind, the idea of living above a library sounds really cool. I unfortunately never got to do that in my time moving around, but I think that's a really cool opportunity.
Right. And in the minute we have left, I just want to mention that the League of Women Voters has their own program that was, I believe, will be showing on CTN at some point. So if they want to know more information about it, they can look up online to see when the League of Women Voters will be showing on public television as well as YouTube.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep. It was I wasn't able to attend, but I heard from a few folks that it was a really good back and forth, lots of information shared, and a really good debate on the topic.
Right. Well, we'll be coming back and talk to you some more.
Sounds good.
We want to hear from you, so please email us questions to ctn@a2gov.org or tweet us at #CTN in Arbor. We're taking a break now, and we'll be coming back with more from Ward Talk.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ann Arbor Mayor John Heftia, and I'm here with First Ward Council members Gene Robinson and Bob Johnson. And this is a program called Ward Talk, and it's an extrapolation.
Part of the fabric of Ann Arbor is local politics. In 2002, CTN dove into the topic by inviting council members from each ward to answer viewers' questions live on TV.
Hello, thank you for calling.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Heftia. This is Doug McAlpin, cashier for Republic Parking.
Good evening. I'm Rachel Tiedke, and I invite you to join us for Ward Talk.
In the beginning, the mayor served as moderator, but this quickly was replaced by an impartial host. Over the years, the show has welcomed 3 hosts, with Bonnie Gabowitz at the helm since 2014.
From our 5 wards each month. Joining us.
One of the things that many of us are thinking about is what's going to happen to Lower Town.
Versus what was then Gelman Sciences, but is now Paul Gelman.
So this is going to involve doing some rezoning in the downtown.
Residents are very concerned about cars speeding through their neighborhoods.
People who've maybe never gone and looked at a blog before will
Over 180 episodes, the show has greeted countless council members and 2 long-serving mayors, with no sign of slowing down.
Several times, and last summer, as I said, I grew up here, and we have had skateboarders in this community from the very beginning.
It's a new millage, but it replaces the one that exists.
It's a heavily traveled area.
Yes, and it's actually, it'll be a 2-year program to actually do it.
Some of them 300, 400, 500 new units.
To work with Justice Indeed and to do this in their own neighborhood.
Not quite.
If that's an understatement, I don't know.
A little bit. Yeah.
And we're probably into the last few seconds, so we can let them take it away with the music. And thank you for, if you watched us tonight.
This is Rachel Tiedke saying thank you for viewing Ward Talk.
This is Community Television Network of Ann Arbor, City TV Channel 19. Thanks for watching.
For Ward Talk, I'm Bonnie Gabowitz. Until next month.
Hi, my name is Sarah Lanise with the City of Ann Arbor Clerk's Office. Today, I'm going to tell you about the Ann Arbor Community Academy. The Community Academy is a program where community members interested in the city's long-term plans and day-to-day operations have a chance to participate in interactive sessions with city staff across different departments. City staff hopes participants will be motivated to play a more active role in shaping the future of Ann Arbor after participating in this program. Graduates from our academy are highly involved in our community and currently serve on City Council, the City Planning Commission, the Public Art Commission, and as election inspectors. You can find more information, including how to sign up, at a2gov.org/A2CA.
The Ann Arbor Farmers Market, located at 315 Detroit Street, proudly brings fresh produce, beverages, artisan items, and more to the community all year. Our 105-year-old market is producer only, featuring 125 vendors from Michigan. At market, you will find seasonal fruit and vegetables, mushrooms, herbs, farm fresh eggs, flowers, plants, honey, coffee, jewelry, art, and so much more. Market tokens for credit, debit, mobile pay, and double-up food bucks can be purchased at our market office trailer. The market is open year-round, from 7 to 3 on Wednesdays and Saturdays, May through December. Between January and April, it will be open on Saturdays only, from 8 to 3. Learn more about the long and unique history of our market at a2gov.org/market.
What if the City of Ann Arbor created a reliable, 100% clean, affordable, locally built, and community-owned energy utility? The city is looking to do just that by creating the Ann Arbor Sustainable Energy Utility, or SEU, a community-owned energy utility that provides electricity from local solar and battery storage systems installed on homes and businesses throughout the city. Learn more and share your thoughts on the proposed sustainable energy utility by going to a2gov.org/A2SEU.
Since October 2015, Ann Arbor Inclusive has been produced by CTN and the Ann Arbor Commission on Disability Issues. The show has featured numerous guests with or without disabilities to discuss issues such as health, politics, and wellness. Thank you, CTN, for your service in providing Ann Arbor residents with the wonderful opportunity to create television programs. Congratulations to CTN on its 50th year anniversary.
Hi, this is Bonnie Gabowitz for Ward Talk. We're speaking with Jon Mallek from Ward 2. We're continuing our conversation because this is the month of June.
Mm-hmm. Almost
I'm
July.
ready to say July.
Uh-huh.
And so we have some things going on that I wanted to mention. First of all, you as a council member are involved with committees, commissions, or committees?
Some of both. Committees,
okay.
Commissions, and boards.
And I understand that there were two entities that have now combined, and you're very involved in that. So tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So you're referring to the Energy Commission and then the Environmental Commission. City Council has two members that sit on both, and I was lucky enough to be one of the members on each commission. And then as recently as I think 2 weeks ago, two or 3 weeks ago, we actually voted on City Council to dissolve the two of them and combine them into one commission moving forward, and that will be the newly renamed Sustainability Commission. And that was done for a number of reasons. Kind of the main one was to refocus the kind of discussion and the debate on those topics. Both the Energy Commission and the Environmental Commission were formed largely before the city had staff working on these topics. But now, of course, we have our Office of Sustainability and Innovations, and they do a tremendous amount of this work. So
you actually have more support now.
We do, yes, in a big way. And actually, it's really great to see, really dedicated community members, very passionate about these topics of, environmental topics and energy-related topics, to work hand in hand with our city staff, who of course are very dedicated, because they've dedicated their careers to these topics, work together to really push the city forward on sustainability goals, whether that's our A20 plan or some of our wider ranging things like stormwater and pollinators and things like that.
So there are really a lot of aspects that this group is really involved in. It's pretty intense, actually.
It is, yes, and there'll be a work plan that kind of guides the new sustainability committee each year. So it'll hopefully try and focus some of that, like you said, could potentially be a lot of topics, but this work plan will kind of narrow it down a bit and really focus the expertise from our community onto those topics in particular to try to advance them.
And how often do you meet?
Generally once a month. Yep, so we're starting to meet the first time, I think it was just scheduled for August. So August will be our first meeting, and then thereafter each month.
Okay. And I just want to mention a little topic.
Sure.
There was a 1-year trial run on having public bathrooms.
Yes.
It's called The Throne. And I know there's one right in Carytown that I see. They're specifically located where, based on what they thought the need would be. And I understand it was successful enough that they've now renewed the contract for another year.
That's correct.
Do you know anything about how one uses it? I mean, you don't just open the door, right?
Nope. It's a little more complicated than that, unfortunately. You do have to scan a QR code, and then you would get an app that allows you to essentially unlock the door, enter and use it.
And there's no money involved.
Correct. It's free to use, so you would need a smartphone of some sort and to access it. But last year, I believe we had 10 bathrooms around the community, and as you said, it was very successful. We actually had some really great numbers of usage and stuff. Because everything's electronic, we can tell, X amount of people use this bathroom and stuff. So it was kind of surprised us, actually, how many folks used them. And then we looked into renewing them again this year, and like you said, we did. I believe this year there'll be 8 of them placed around the community, mostly concentrated downtown.
That's great. Okay, let's get to another topic.
Okay.
The green belt.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about that, and that's an ongoing topic as well.
It is, yes.
Okay. So and what does it mean, green belt? Why is it called that?
Good question. So I believe it was back in 2003, Ann Arbor voters actually voted to tax themselves to work on preserving land outside of the city of Ann Arbor. So that land outside the city is referred to as the green belt. So they're preserving farmland and open space. And the idea is, we don't want urban sprawl. We want any building to happen inside the city borders. So if we can, let's preserve the development rights on that land just outside of the city, making a ring around the city. By purchasing the development rights, it prevents it forever from being developed, other than what it currently is.
So does that mean the city spends money to buy property when it's available on the market? Is that what happens?
They can buy it. That part is called buy, protect, sell. So the city would buy the land, issue the development rights and say this cannot be developed, and then it resells that land. That's one option. But the more common is not to purchase the land itself. It's actually to just purchase the development rights, which would be kind of a subset cost of the overall cost of the property. So if you are a farmer or a landowner outside of the city, you can retain ownership of that land, but by putting this development rights agreement on your property, kind of think of it like an easement. You're saying, I won't develop this land, and if I ever sell it, the people that buy it after me also cannot develop it.
Does this need the permission of the actual governmental entity that owns that property? If it's not in Ann Arbor, then is it another township that owns that is in charge of it?
It can. So like I mentioned, Ann Arbor voted to tax themselves to do this, while a lot of the surrounding townships have now also implemented their own millages to do this. So sometimes when we do this land preservation, it's in conjunction with the county or in conjunction with the township. So sometimes if it does involve the township like that, they would need to approve it in some way. But if it would be just the city, it's an agreement between the city of Ann Arbor and the landowner. So the township in that case would not be involved, is my understanding.
Okay. And do you know the most recent activity in this area of?
Yeah, so each year I think the city probably works to preserve anywhere from maybe like 4 to 10 properties of varying size. And I think it was maybe the May meeting at City Council where we voted to approve 4 contracts, I believe. So we just actually approved several of them. And it's really great. So now I think we're in our 22nd year of having the Green Belt. And it's pretty impressive to see kind of the various parcels of land outside of the city getting linked up and, you know, preserved in this way for generations to come.
And I'm curious to know, since you're relatively new, how this experience is affecting you, having this responsibility, learning about government, learning. I mean, it's so complex what you have to deal with. You know, when I look at what the agenda is.
Oh yeah.
For every meeting, it's a lot to look at. So tell us a little bit about, you know, what it's like for you.
Sure. Yeah. I think the most surprising part was just how much time I dedicate to City Council. You know, when I asked other council members about how much time they dedicate, the number was typically around 5 to 10 hours a week. And I think for me, it's easily maybe closer to 15 to 20 right now. You know, I mentioned I didn't grow up here in Ann Arbor, so I don't necessarily have the decades of understanding on a lot of these topics. And so often when every agenda comes out, it takes me quite a long time to go through and make sure I'm up to speed on a lot of the topics. And I think something that, you know, the average Ann Arbor resident doesn't realize is with City Council, because we meet twice a month, every month, there's actually very little time between meetings. Like, we don't really have like an off season, if you will. We'll have our meetings on Monday, and then there's only a few-day break before Friday of that week we get our first look at the agenda for the upcoming meeting. So, and you know, then
so there's always homework.
There's always homework. You know, every time you finish like with voting on a big topic and that you put a lot of time and effort into learning and studying up on, the next one's right around the corner. But I've really enjoyed it. There's a lot of resources available to me to help, you know, get up to speed. I've really enjoyed connections with current and former council members, asking them, you know, like, you were on council in 2018, why did this, you know, happen? Or, you know, this is 20 years old, why did we do this 20 years ago, and why is it back on the agenda now? And Ann Arbor, of course, is very educated. The population is very educated, and we get really informed, insightful emails that I really appreciate. You know, residents send really great feedback.
So let's just put in a plug for that.
Yeah, of course.
You know, that no matter what ward a citizen lives in, they're invited to communicate with their council members and ask questions, or maybe even give praise. Say thank you.
No matter the topic, big or small, like simple or complex, I really do value getting feedback from residents, because like I said, it's generally, you know, it's great that they take the time to learn the topic as well. You know, it's not just city council members that learn the agenda. Sometimes I get residents that say like, item C4, like, I think like that sentence is out of place because of X, Y, or Z. And it's just, I'm always impressed that, you know, a lot of citizens really do their homework as well, and I appreciate it.
Right.
Makes my job easier.
Plus you get the public forum at the meetings. People have a chance to speak for a few minutes and give their 2 cents. So that should enlighten you as well.
Yes, it definitely does.
Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I wish you well to continue your term, and all the best to you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Thanks for having me.
Remember to join us for a new episode every month. We want to hear from you, so please email us at ctn82@a2gov.org, attention Ward Talk. You can also follow CTN and ask questions on Twitter at twitter.com/CTN in Arbor. We'll make sure to include your questions. To watch this and all of CTN's program, head online to youtube.com/CTN in Arbor. For Ward Talk, I'm Bonnie Gabowitz. Until next month.